whakamarama whetu I te rangi me o tātou tānohi.
Kia ora koutou, my name is Brooke and welcome to Ngātahi, a Matariki series. In our last broadcast, we talked with a guest about what Matariki is and represents, the 3 pillars of Matariki and how we can celebrate it today. In our broadcast today, I want to focus on another pillar of Matariki, which is centred on remembrance. Matariki is a time where we come together to remember those we have recently lost and those who came before us, our ancestors. In the past, during a ceremony called whāngai I te hautapu, the names of those who had passed since the last rising of Matariki were called out and people would weep for their loved ones. As a present-day tradition, I thought another meaningful way to remember, honour and connect with our ancestors could be through family history work and storytelling. In the studio with me today, I have Dr. Nathan Joseph, who in his spare time helps families with their whakapapa and has been doing this for the last 15 years. Kia ora Nathan, thank you so much for coming to the station today to talk about what you do and the importance of family history. So I guess to start off with, if someone wanted to get started on their family history, where would they even start?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing to do is to start, what do you know? Who do you know? Who's your family, your parents, grandparents? You know, you start with where you begin. So, I mean, for a lot of our whānau, hopefully they know their parents, but that's not necessarily the case. I actually helped someone last night who was struggling to know who her father was. So, you know, she asked her mother and her mother gave her a name, and then last night we found her dad. So, you know, it's not totally obvious that you're going to know that stuff.
Yeah.
So ask your parents. That's the first place to start. If your grandparents are around, ask them and go back as far as you can that way. That's the simplest way to start.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, then there are lots of different resources you can go to.
Yeah, like websites?
Yeah, websites. I was talking with my brother this morning. So when it comes to family history, I collect the whakapapa, and I've been doing that for like 30 years. And my brother collects the stories, the kōrero.
Yeah.
And so he and I come together and we talk about these things. So anyway, I told him I was doing this today. And he does Waitangi Tribunal stuff. And on the Waitangi Tribunal side, they recommend going to Family Search, which is it's connected to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Because on there, if you put what you have, your parents, your grandparents, often you may find that someone else has done that work on there, and then you can just plug it in. And like with the lady I helped last night, she showed me what she had, and then she was able to go back to Tukimata, which is a Tainui name, and I said, okay, I had a book with me, a Tainui book at the time, said, okay, and this is how Tukimata goes back to Aotearoa and the Tainui waka.
Yeah.
Said your Ngāti Maniapoto. So there's books out there. There are websites out there. You know, you can start it that way if you're not connected to your marae.
Yeah.
But if you know your whakapapa and you know where you're from, your marae, go talk to the kaumātua there. They're repositories of a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
But not everyone knows even that. So start where you can. And because I work in a family search centre, if you want help, head to one of the family search centres and we've got lots of people who can help you there.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Well, I've had this experience. If someone hits a brick wall trying to look for family names, what tools or strategies do you recommend?
So I've started at the simple places. There's lots of published books out there. And a lot of people don't obviously know that because we're in the era of the Waitangi Tribunal and the settlements that have been happening. So some of my whakapapa that I found was actually contained within those Waitangi Tribunal cases.
Yeah.
And so I was going, cool, because I found I had whakapapa to Ngāti Rangi, which is in the central North Island. They're connected to Wanganui. And in order to have your claim established, you have to say where you come from, all the places, and who your ancestors were. And so a lot of the Waitangi tribunals, if you know which iwi you whakapapa to,
Yeah.
and if you know that, then you can look at that. So that's been a repository of awesome knowledge.
Yeah.
So I've found out lots in that. Sorry. You can also go to the books that have been published. So my dad's from Tuwharetoa, Ngāti Raukawa, and Ngāti Maniapoto, as well as Wanganui. And so Dad gave me the whakapapa that he had that went back to the waka, but it was like in just single lines.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I did, because that was all Dad had, but it was cool, I went and bought me a book on Tainui, and it just had a heap of information. So some people who are stuck out there, you know, if you got this information, go look for wider sources.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for my wife, I've bought a lot of books over the years that cost a lot of money, but that's valuable to me.
Yeah. But can we find them like in a library?
Yeah. Well, that Tainui book that I bought, it's online now. Or you can just go to the library and pick it up yourself. And me, I actually like to have the books, eh?
Yeah, the same as me.
Because I'm greedy. But it's nice to have it and to look at it at home, and you don't have to take it back to the library. I do have some library books I have to take back. My wife's been telling me off. So those are good. There's lots of these different sites, but if you're getting stuck, because I've got one side of my family history, it's actually from Wales, a Jewish side.
Yeah.
And I've gone stuck on that. I've had others who get stuck to, like, I'm here, but I can't get any further. There's nothing else I can find. And just a story. My dad was born in 1943. His father was born in 1889, and his father was born in 1820, came out of Wales. Anyway, so my grandfather was like 54 when he had Dad, and he came from Dunedin, and he left there in 1824. We know this because he and his mother came up to Foxton, and while they were there, she got in a car accident and broke her back. And then this Māori lady nursed her, who became my grandmother. So they, Edina Pitihira. So she nursed Priscilla Annie Barnes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're there. Fast forward, one of my cousins, so Ancestry.com, this is a website that does whakapapa.
Yeah.
Or MyHeritage, or there's all these different sites. You can go to them and order a DNA test. And what they do with these DNA tests is, because you put your DNA in, there might be someone in your family who you don't know who's put theirs in, and they can match you up and say, oh, this is your family. So what happened is my cousin put her DNA in, and then it was about 10 years ago now, I got this message saying, oh, are you the grandson of John David Barnes Joseph, the one who came up from Dunedin? I said, yeah, that's me. He goes, oh, we did this DNA test because there's a John Joseph who was the father of our grandmother. Yeah. So Dad had a sister he didn't know who she was, who was born in 1824. So it looks like when he was a young fella, he did what young fellas do, and her mother had their grandmother. Yeah. And so that connected us up. So anyway, I've done that for Dad, for his Jewish side in Wales, And it's given us some suggestive matches that we can investigate. So I'm currently doing that.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting.
Yeah. So books, DNA tests.
Or AI as well.
AI, yeah.
Yeah. You can ask Google things.
Yeah.
So one of my wife's ancestors, we don't know where he's from, he died in 1865 in Aotearoa down around Temuka. He was Pākehā fella. And he was 29, but he died in an accident. And that's all we have. We got the death date, but nothing about parents or anything. And I asked the AI, so this is the information I have. We don't know where he's buried. We know he died of an accident. What more suggestions can you give us? And the AI said, well, then there's going to be an inquest into his death because it was accidental. So in Archives New Zealand, they have inquests.
Yeah.
And you can go to that and we'll give you information about how he died and what happened. And so there's all these tools that are available that you can use that will give you a bit more information and maybe they'll give us more. So, I mean, there's been some birth certificates we've found that told us who one of the parents was that we didn't know before.
So ordering birth certificates as well?
Yeah, ordering it can actually help. So, I mean, there's heaps of different ways you can do it. Takes time to find out and learn it.
So another question, how can people effectively involve and engage their wider family members in this work?
It's a good question. It depends where you're at in your life, I found. When I was going to university, what happened was, I grew up in Hastings, Flaxmere, Ngāti Kahungunu, and I knew a little bit about my family history. And being Māori, there was a Māori entrance path for me. And, I grew up in Flaxmere with my parents. There was 6 kids at home. Our youngest brother hadn't been born yet. Our parents, my grandparents, and their 4 youngest in a 3-bedroom house that's 60 square metres, So I had the old hapu whānau thing going on, and I was told I'm kahungunu because I grew up there, but then I learnt a bit more about Dad, and I wanted to know more about me as I was going on that Māori pathway. And so my mind was ready, and I was looking for it. So, I mean, involving your whānau, if they're not interested, ain't going to happen. Yeah. Because we'd gone to the marae lots of times and Dad would talk about this stuff. And, okay, boring.
What about sharing interesting stories that you found about ancestors? Do you think that could potentially?
Yep, it definitely helps. Like I said, my brother's one who collects a lot of the stories.
Yeah.
And we have a whānau reunion every year and around Christmas, New Year. And we do a presentation every year. So I'll do some Whakapapa stuff and give some stories. Then my brother will give a bit more richness to it. So those stories are really helpful at times because it lets you know about yourself. You can see yourself and your ancestors. So definitely helpful. A lot of it's dependent on your life. But what we've found is they enjoy it. And my kids enjoy the stories. And we've taught them about where their names come from. And they like that. And one of my sons, he's actually starting to get interested in it. So, it's a time thing for them, because, they have, life's busy. And my wife gets sick of me because sometimes I'm spending more time with the dead than with the living,
Yeah.
Because this can take a long time sometimes. But yes, so I mean, it's good. I think you teach them, tell them stories, and then eventually they'll come to it. They will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you come across any interesting stories of particular ancestors during your family history work?
Oh, heaps. So in the Waikato Wars,
Yep.
1863, 1864. So my dad, I said, he's Ngāti Raukawa Tūwhareto Maniapoto, which is from around Hamilton, Te Awamutu, Lake Taupo.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the whānau would have heard of the kingitanga, ngā waihono e te pō, the Māori Queen right now. So in the 1840s, I think it was, Potatau Te Whero was instituted as the Māori king. And one of our ancestors, his name was Te Hoariri. If you look at that word, it means the angry friend. So he was one of those fellas, don't get on his bad side.
Yeah.
And he fought in a lot of battles. So our ancestor Te Hoariri, he came to Potatau, and he came with a contingent from Kahungunu and Tūwharetoa, because it's after the treaty. It's been signed, and now there's all these breaches happening. Hey, people are wanting land, and they're doing a bit of skullduggery and that stuff. And so our ancestor, he came with all these different chiefs and to Potatau and said, time to deal to these fellas.
Yeah.
To exact a bit of utu, because they're overstepping the bounds. But Potatau said to him, no, I've got a promise from the governor that we're going to be fine. And our ancestor went, are you sure, bro? In our words. And so Potatau, what he said to me, he changed his name. He said, I need you to be Te Pairata, the pilot who guides us through these rocky times. Because he had all these chiefs behind him who wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And so he had his name, changed from Te Hoariri, the angry fella, the angry friend, to the pilot, of trying to bring peace and reconciliation. So anyway, this is 1845, 1847. And then 16 years later, the government are invading the Waikato because the kingitanga has been established. Māori have set up this Māori king, and they didn't like it, the governor, and said, look, they're going in opposition to us. They were declaring them rebels. And they sent them an ultimatum. You need to cease this by this date. But Governor Gray, I think it was, he said, you got till this date, and then they invaded straight away. So Great South Road, that was built to enable the army to invade the Waikato. It's State Highway 1, right? But that's why it was built.
Yeah.
And they invaded. And so my ancestors, Te Pairata, he was in some of the battles that happened, and his 3 children. So the final battle of the Waikato Wars was at a place called Orako. So Te Pairata was there with his 3 children, because by this time, you know how he said to Potatau, are you sure, bro? And
Yeah.
Potatau, you said, yeah, it's all good. But he said to him, look, I don't think it's going to work out well, and I'm going to be the one who stops it. So he was at Orako, it's 1864. They've invaded Waikato, and the real reason they invaded was because A, there were heaps of settlers, B, the government wanted more land so that they could buy it cheap from the Māori fellas and sell it for more to the settlers, because the government had no money. So this was a way of getting money for the government so that they can do whatever they do. So that happened. It's the final battle. They've taken most of Waikato already. There's a place called Kihikihi just outside Te Awamutu.
Yeah.
It was an army base, basically, where the army were, because the kingitanga run just on the other side of the river. And so now Te Pairata, he's gone back to being Te Hoariri, Or in other words, he changed back to, I'm angry
Mm.
and I want to have a fight with these guys at the final battle. So they went to a place just south called Orako. They built a pā. The soldiers saw them. Basically, we're inviting them, let's have a fight. There were 1,200 initially of the army there,
Yeah.
and there were 300 Māori, including women and children. And the battle lasted for 3 days. The army thought, oh, easy, women, children, 300. And so what happened was they just charged in thinking they'd be able to take care of it. But they got repulsed. That's the first time. Then they charged again a second time and got repulsed. It was kind of the start of trench warfare.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of these battles were forgotten, and if you think about Gallipoli,
Mm.
you know, they had remembered what happened. So anyway, they did that, and the battle was lasting for 3 days. When it came to a pā, what traditionally they would do is they'd make a defensive position, and they had a back door to escape through, and they had a water source.
Yeah.
Hope this isn't boring, but
No.
and what happened was they had run out of food because they hadn't had all those preparations. They didn't have a water source. They were thirsty, and they were running out of ammunition. The only thing they had to load their guns, it was in a peach orchard.
Yeah.
So instead of lead balls, they got peach pips, and they started shooting those at the army.
It's very creative.
Yeah, and the army had now built up to 1,700 against 300. And so now you get to this part, and the army are recognising we're about to win, but they admired the bravery.
Yeah.
And so the general there said, look, let's offer them a truce. And so a guy called Gilbert Mee, he was there, and he could speak te reo. So he said, go talk to them and offer them peace. And so he went there and he said, you know, we admire your bravery. It's looking hopeless. Just surrender and we'll let you live. But what had happened is they saw what happened at one of the battles before, and they captured our Māori whānau. They put them in prison in Auckland. And the Taranaki Wars had happened just before this, and they got shipped down south to build the roads around Dunedin in terrible conditions, and a lot of them died. So, you know, you're thinking about this stuff, I don't want that in my life. And so what they said was, and it's a famous thing, they said, ka whawhai tonu mātou ake, we will fight you forever. But I'll die before I give up. Then Gilbert Mee said, oh, pai ana, tērā. That's cool. At least let the women and children out. Don't let them die with you. And then Te Pairata's daughter is named Ahumai. And she got up and said, what benefit is it to us if the men die? So let us die with them. Always well up when I hear that story. And so she said, we ain't giving up, cuz we'll die. Because it was another battle before where the army had actually slaughtered women and children and old people just before this. So said, we can't trust you guys, basically. Okay, so now it's the third day. The army says, cool, how long have I got? Anyway, what happened was they formed a V out the front of the pā. They just got out of there like this, and they're surrounded by the 1,700, and they walked. And the army paused and were like, what the heck? And then they charged, and the people in front got shot, and a lot of them died. So Ahumai, she got her thumb shot off. She had a bullet go through the right side and came out the left, and through her right hip and came out the left. She had some bullets lodged in her arm, and they charged towards the Puni River, and they managed to escape eventually. Then a few months later, because the King Country is named the King Country because it was after the Kingitanga. And a guy named Mead. He was a Major Mead. He went into there. If you went into the king country, the whānau weren't happy with you, they were going to kill you. So he went travelling through there, and Ahumai was there. And basically she spared him, even though she'd had all this stuff happen to him. She gave him mercy.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's a cool story that I enjoy.
It is a cool story.
Sorry if that's long.
No, thank you. It was very interesting hearing the history, behind all these places that I just casually go through.
Yeah.
Just before we finish, if you could leave just one message for our listeners, why do you think family history is so important?
Well, the word whakapapa means, because whaka is an action, to do something, and papa is a flat surface, like the ground, papa and papa tuanuku.
Yeah.
So your whakapapa, if you look at them, you actually get placed in this layers. So whakapapa means you take your place in that layer of going back to Langi and Papa Tuanuku and Iwa Te Matua, and it also goes, so you're taking your place in your history. And so your tupuna, your ancestors, tupuna means to stand where you sprung from.
Mm.
So we sprang from them and we stand on their shoulders. And as tamariki, means you're tama of the ariki, you're a child of God.
Mm.
And then your moko puna, a moko is your tattoos, right? But that has your whakapapa at the top on your forehead, then has your achievements. So your moko puna, they spring from you and what you've done.
Mm.
And so learning this teaches you this is who you come from.
Yeah.
This is what they did. This is who you can become. If they've done some funny things, work on it.
Yeah.
So it teaches you who you know, to know who you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Nathan, for your time and for sharing your knowledge of family history and your beautiful stories of your ancestors. As Matariki approaches, let's use this season as an opportunity to slow down, remember those we have lost this past year, and to show gratitude for the strength and resilience passed down by those who came before us. I hope that those listening may feel encouraged to engage in family history work and see this as a tool to actively keep our ancestors' memories alive in our hearts and our homes. To end our discussion today, I want to close with one of my favourite Māori proverbs, which translates to, I walk backwards into the future with my eyes fixed firmly on my past. Kia whakatōmuri te haere whakamua. Ngā mihi nui.
Ngā whetū I te rangi mana ki te amata I ngā